Hello everyone, Rick here. My logical understanding of humour tells me that explaining a joke is an excellent way to eliminate the humour from it. I shall now commence this video explaining and attempting to divulge the meaning behind the recurring gag in Star Trek Lower Decks' intro battle scene. Okay, seriously enough though, after recently looking into the opening for another video, I thought it might be a bit of fun to speculate and work out just what the hell is going on in this opening gag throughout seasons. Because, well, it starts believable enough, tinged with the comedy of our hero ship running away after being lightly grazed. The scene eventually evolves into utter insanity. Plus, I found some surprising lore tidbits while researching this and I wanted to share. Like what happened to the whale probe and other little things. It starts with 12 D'Deridex warbirds engaged in a battle with the Borg who have sent 6 cubes. Alright, so straight off the bat, we have the setting, the year 2380. However, literally with no other context, we could be viewing a mission 5 years in Cerritos' past or something. Literally unable to verify, but all intros have featured the hero ships in their appropriate era, so I see no reason to change that. Considering the presence of the Cerritos, I don't think we're going to be too far from Romulan territory, which is fine. The galactic northern edge of the neutral zone is where the Borg incursions first began, so what we are likely witnessing is a Borg push into Star Empire territory, and if this were the case, I can expect the USS Cerritos, far from a capable combat vessel, are being dispatched to observe the conflict. This is supported by the vessel rising from a nebula or cloud, as if trying to get a closer look. This is also during an era where the Borg collective was severely disrupted by Admiral Janeway's pathogen, so we can expect their orders and actions to be a little more unordered. Would this be advantageous enough for 12 warbirds to take on 6 cubes? Still probably not. In Season 2, the Cerritos returns to the scene to find the number of Romulan warbirds has decreased to 7, and the Borg seem to have lost 2 cubes too. But now the Klingons have shown up with 7 Burrell-class birds of prey and they're getting involved in the skirmish. Not exactly impossible, as the Klingon Empire does reside relatively close to the Romulans, and may have even responded to the incursion to help out. From what we see, the Klingons are opening fire on the Borg. However, something else has complicated matters. The Pakleds have shown up with 2 of their clump ships, and they seem to be attacking anyone or anything. It's possible they've gotten involved and have no clue exactly what the battle is about. While it is odd to have them here, the same show does later establish that the Pakleds have a presence in the neutral zone, so again, not exactly unbelievable. Season 3 has a Crystalline Entity show up to the conflict too, potentially simply drawn to the fray by the abundance of energy being cast around and surprisingly seems powerful enough to destroy 1 more of the Borg cubes. Season 4 sees 2 more additions to the conflict, with the Klingons now engaged in a battle against the Breen, as interceptors pursue the birds of prey, and in the background the whale probe has arrived on the scene. The whale probe originally only had one purpose that we know of, to check on the status of cetaceans on Earth. But after that it was not seen again. Now there is a book called Probe that sees the involvement of Romulans, the whale probe, Starfleet, and possibly the Borg too. The UFP and Romulans are engaged in peace talks, while the whale probe resurfaces, this time making for Romulan territory and almost causing an incident when it disables Romulan ships before setting a course back to Earth. To the Romulans, this looks like it was dispatched by the Federation and is returning home, so a mission ensues to learn more about the probe and prove it has nothing to do with Starfleet. Eventually, a successful mind meld reveals that it is missing memory files, and was unaware that it was causing damage with its transmissions, not even recognizing humanoid life as sentient considering how different it was from its creators. Here is the big reveal. The whale probe's history indicates that its original creators are now long extinct after they lost a conflict with a species described as mites, its term for humanoids, in metal cubes. So the builders of the whale probe were destroyed by the Borg, and now we see the probe back in the Beta Quadrant next to a Borg conflict? Perhaps it took the opportunity to attempt to learn more about its creator's destruction by following the Borg. Speculation, but certainly interesting to find links there drawn from Beta Canon. As for the Breen's presence, I'm not surprised really. They do kind of turn up every now and then, motives unclear, though their attack on the Klingons sort of suggests that they are taking this as an opportunistic chance to damage their enemies, as the Breen never really alleviated their aggressions after the Dominion War. Season's 5 additions to the battle really kick things up a gear into the absurd though. There are seemingly now only 2 cubes left, so the Tholians have shown up and they're beginning to spin a web around the whole skirmish. Now honestly I have no clue as to why the Tholians would be here, but I find it funny to think that they too were observing this conflict only to conclude that things were getting far out of hand and the whole thing needed to be contained. So they attempt to begin to weave a large containment web over the area to prevent the escalation. That's all I can think of. But Apollo's hand is also seen now, clasping down on a Borg cube and attempting to hold it in place. Now, this hand was of course an advanced force field generated by the godlike being. Subsequent media outside of the original series has Apollo retain his powers after the Enterprise apparently destroyed them, but why would he involve himself here? Pollux's location, his homeworld, varies in maps, but it's not really that close to Romulan space, consistently. As for motivation, well, his goal was to rebuild his worship, so destroying the Borg would preserve his potential followers. But then Voyager appears, as the Cerritos flees for the final time. Voyager is, of course, the evolved machine joined with a human sentience and one of the most powerful things ever encountered. By this point, Voyager is a multiversal being that can explore other realities at will and is vastly more powerful than anything present here, which is probably how this conflict ends, to be honest. When it emerges into the background, it is encased in its light years spanning energy cloud, which itself is crackling with power. This is something we see before Voyager launches its plasma balls, the energy blasts that digitize anything struck and store it as information within Voyager's colossal form. Considering Voyager's motivation is to learn still, it could be that simply it wanted to catalogue this exchange, arriving to digitize the entire conflict before departing again, bringing the event to an unceremonious close, with only the Cerritos fleeing to relay its findings. Either that, or the battle ended when all involved looked at Voyager and fled. That would be safer. I mean, it's certainly a unique confluence of events, so Voyager being curious might be enough to draw it in to act. So, that's the eccentric battle against the Borg, witnessed in the opening of Lower Decks. Did it even happen? Who knows? But I thought it was a good excuse to look at some of the lore around the events and extrapolate. I like the idea that the Tholians arrived to see this mess and immediately were like, "No, we gotta contain this," only to have Voyager arrive and just go, "This will make a fine addition to my collection," and yoink the whole encounter into its endless records. The added humour too of the Cerritos having to report all of this back to Starfleet Command. Alright then, that covers it. If there's any outlandish theories, I look forward to reading them. But until the next video, I've been Rick. Thanks again, and goodbye.